I'm Sherilyn Skolnicki, and this is Brilliant Balance, the show for working women who are ready to shine. Each week, I bring you ideas, inspiration, and insight on balance, business, and getting it all done gracefully. You ready? Let's be brilliant. This is episode 252. Stop checking boxes and start making choices. So hello, my friend. Thanks for joining me today for this episode of the show. I was sitting here getting everything set up to record, and I want a good setup for this episode. I wanted to kind of find a framework to share why this subject occurred to me. Where did I kind of get this idea from? And this one really is rooted in the work I've been doing with my oldest daughter, who will be applying to colleges in this season, right? The Common App, if you have a kid this age, opened August 1st, and the app stays open. You know, application deadlines range anywhere from November into the early part of next year. So this is the season, if you have a senior, that we really, as parents, have been talking with them about and preparing them for, and their teachers and their guidance counselors and the world at large has been talking about and preparing them for, candidly, since they were very tiny children. And that has started to bug me more and more. And I was thinking about how often in my daughter's experience as a student, someone has encouraged her to do something because it will, quote unquote, look good on her college application. Man, this is a refrain that we are using with our kids, right? Do it because it's going to look good for you should join that club. You should take that class. You should, go to that camp or apply for that award or, take whatever, do all the things because it's going to look really good to a college admissions counselor. And I was thinking about how that sets a path for us as adults, really continuing to do things because we think they'll curry favor with someone else, right? It'll make us look good to the hiring committee at the company or to our boss or to our boss's boss, right? It'll make us look good in our church or in the nonprofit that we're a part of, or as a parent in our child's school. Well, you have to do this because it'll look good. That whole idea of doing things because we're supposed to do them, because they expect us to do them, because they'll look good to someone so that we can really get selected for the next level is kind of bugging me. And so it became the sort of thread to pull in this episode. So whether or not you have a child who's a senior that is kind of at the payoff time of that long string of boxes that they've been checking, it's really something worth thinking about with your children, right? What is the message we are sending them about things that they may not actually have any interest or passion in doing? And then also where we can turn that lens on ourselves and ask ourselves, where am I still checking boxes? And what would it feel like to instead start making choices? So that's the context. That's the setup for today. And I want to talk a little bit about some of the language patterns that you can listen for that might give you a clue that you are in a box checking frame. Okay. They would be things like, I have to do this, right? I have to do that. I mean, what choice do I have, right? Or I'm supposed to do this. We're supposed to do this thing, or they expect us to do this. And, I got told all kinds of rules by schools that my children have been. No, that's not true. Not by the schools, by other parents at the schools that my children have been enrolled in. Like, what are the expectations of what you're expected to do when your child is at this school or in this particular activity? And I think the same thing with our jobs. I remember, this is a story that'll illustrate this. I remember when I had my first, I don't know if it was my very first, but one of my first summer interns who was reporting to me when I was in marketing in my corporate life. And that person gave me this lovely gift at the end of the summer. Like, it was absolutely lovely. And I thought it was maybe even a little over the top. And I learned later that they were told by another peer that that was the expectation, that the expectation was that at the end of your summer, you gave this sort of somewhat extravagant thank you gift to your intern manager, which I thought was just so interesting that that culture, sort of spread throughout the intern community, that they were expected to do this. It could be something like when your child is in this activity, you're expected to make this kind of a donation, right, to the program. Or, you're expected to say that you're willing to do an international assignment if you want to get promoted, right? Think about how many times we're doing, or you have to do a finance assignment if you want to get to the next level in this company. That was another one that used to make the rounds, right? So there's these kind of box checking. And then what happens is someone breaks that mold and gets the holy grail that we're all chasing without doing that thing. And then we're all kind of mad. Like, how come they got to have that thing without checking the box, right? So the framework around making a choice instead of checking a box is language like, I want to do this. I've decided I'm going to do this. I get to do this, right? I choose to do this, whatever this thing is. If we go back to the high school example, thou shalt take biology and chemistry and physics. Like there's kind of this progression around the science curriculum. And thou shalt take all the STEM classes. But if you have a kid who genuinely is not interested in science, like that is not their jam, and they are super amped about the humanities and languages, and those classes are kind of clogging up their schedule such that they can't take the classes they're really interested in, you have a pretty unhappy teen, right? Who's dutifully checking boxes so that the next approver, right, who's going to stamp them with some stamp of approval is going to see what they need to see. Again, take that right into the corporate environment. It's the kind of assignments that we said there was a progression within my early career of you should have an assignment that kind of fulfills these various check boxes if you want to be eligible for promotion. And what that does is it puts us in a lens of not really loving our life now so that we can let someone else sort of clear us for the next level, okay? And when we're doing that, when we're in a box checking framework, I think the way we act and the way we feel is pretty different than it is if we're making choices. So if we're checking boxes, I think the way we act is like we want to do the minimum required. We want it to be like passable, right? I'm begrudgingly going to do this thing. I just want to get it over with. It's like, it's sloppy, it's quick. There's a sense of like just sort of enduring, right? So that we can get through it and get our box checked, get our, passport stamped so that we can move on to the next thing. When we're doing something that we've chosen, there's a sense of excellence, right? There's an innate desire to be excellent, to do the maximum possible for us, to fulfill our potential, right? We behave like there's more thoughtfulness, there's more intentionality. We might find ourselves thinking about it or working on it, like even beyond the hours that we're required to. And there's often a sense of ease, like ease and flow, right? That comes with things that we've chosen to do. It doesn't mean they're easy. I'm going to draw that distinction. Some of the things that I've chosen to do are hard, right? They are difficult, but there's an ease about my energy while I'm doing them. Okay. So when we're in this like kind of raw, begrudging, aggravated state that comes with box checking, like I'm doing this because I have to do it, that's very different than I'm doing it because I love to do it. I'm going to use an example with my kids and household chores. If I tell one of my children to fold the laundry or take out the garbage or do the dishes, they're going to check a box, right? Because I've told them to do it. Think about the energy that your kids have when that's the frame. Versus every now and then you get a child who decides that they're like, as a treat to the household, as a gift to the household, going to do something really delightful. Like, I'm going to deep clean my room. I had one of my kids do this weekend, so it's fresh on my mind. Like, it just just because I choose to. I'm going to deep clean my room. And then they're in there playing music, and it's just an amazing result at the end, and they enjoy the whole process, and there's no yelling, right? Or they're going to make a meal, and they're just happily in there creating this meal for the family to share, right? And I am not saying those things happen every day in my house, nor do I expect they do in yours, but you can feel the energetic difference between I got told to do this, I got to check this box so I can move on to the next thing in my day, versus this is a choice I made and I'm going to put some energy into it that's like good energy. Do you ever find yourself saying, I just need a minute to breathe? While the whole idea of meditation can sound totally intimidating, I've found that stepping away from the chaos of life, even just for a few minutes, is incredibly restorative. So if you're short on time, but could use a few moments of peace right about now, listen to my 5-minute meditation for working moms. It'll help you clear your head and come back to your day feeling centered and refreshed. Head over to brilliant-balance.com/breathe. Press play and settle in for a few mini moments of peace right now. And that, I think, is what has the spillover to our emotional state. Right? Like the way we actually feel. When we are checking a box, there is an element of stress. We might be resigned, like there's this resignation, or maybe even resentment, like I don't want to have to do this, but I understand it's required, or I've decided it's required. There can be a competitive energy, like I have to do it to keep up with. I was mentioning when there's those boxes to check to get promoted, can be a very competitive environment. And there's a sense of, well, if I don't do this, someone else is going to do it and then they're going to get ahead, right? And I think the college application process is designed to do that same thing, to create a competitive scarcity environment where they're so afraid that they're not going to have all the boxes checked and someone is going to beat them out for that spot, right? What's the energy, the emotional state when we're doing something we chose to do? There's pleasure. Right? There's this sense of enjoyment. We kind of drop into the moment and live it. Maybe there's even excitement around it or, anticipation. And there's that ability to tap into deep presence. Like we want to be in that moment versus we want to move through it as fast as we can. And that desire to just move through it so we can get it over with, that's kind of the hallmark of box checking. Right? I just want to mail it in here. I just want to get this done so that people will give me whatever it is that I want on the other side of it. We are never really going to feel drawn to a box checking life, right? We are essentially living someone else's life when we are spending our life checking those boxes, dutifully doing what we think the ubiquitous they expect us to do. So if we want to make the shift, if we want to be people who make choices instead of checking boxes, right? If we want to tap that energy that comes with a life that's our own, where we've made the choice to do the things, one question that's kind of a bellwether question is, should I? Should I do this thing? And actually creating a decision point before you just say yes and sort of dutifully accept the next state of things. Like, is this actually a good idea for me, for our family, for this chapter, for right now? Because sometimes the choices that we're going to make are unique to the moment, right? We need to make a choice that's right for right now. And if we get real hung up in, but this is the timing on which I'm supposed to do this thing, then again, we can end up in a box checking game where it's not right for right now and the energy is all off. So assessing our motivation, like for whatever the next decision is, okay, I could do this thing. I could, right? Maybe I have the capability to do it. Should I? Do I want to? Do I have a desire, something pulling me toward this? You can kind of do that vibe check, like check in with your own energy. Do I feel a sense of anticipation when I think about this, even if there's a little bit of fear mingled with it? Or do I feel a sense of resignation? Like, all right, fine, I'll do the thing. I don't want to do this, but I'll do it. And the only way we really get from we get room for the things that we want to choose to do is we probably have to let go of some things that we've been box checking, right? I mean, that's kind of the punchline to this topic is our lives, if we're honest, are probably full of a lot of boxes, a lot of things that have crept onto our calendars because we think we are supposed to do them. And I want you to challenge yourself, and I am doing the same thing. I'm encouraging my kids to do the same thing. Like, really assess your motivation. Why do I think that this has to happen? Why do I think this is required? And what would dropping it open up room for in my life? And maybe that thing that it opens up room for is white space, right? Maybe the thing you need more of is just downtime, margin, time to not be doing something, right? Or maybe there's a different thing that you want to put into that spot. So if you kind of stop checking the box and you give yourself that space back to make a new choice, can you get an upgrade, right? What am I really afraid of? Like, what am I missing out on by checking these boxes? A question you might ask yourself is, who might I displease, right? Like, who might be annoyed by the fact that I am doing this thing? Because that's the clue of like, what's driving us to check the box. If we're like, I'm so worried that this person is going to not like me, or they're going to cut me out of this, or I'm not going to get the thing I want, that like authority figure idea, that's a clue of something that could be pushing us back toward box checking. So you want to assess your motivation. If you're like worried that this thing might be a box check and not a choice, assess your motivation. Am I saying I should do this? I have to do this. Or I could do this. I would be excited about doing this, right? Different energy. You're going to check your vibe. Like, am I in this kind of resignation, womp womp energy? Or do I feel a sense of anticipation? Is there something magnetizing me toward this? And then what might I have to let go of, like drop, so I can pick up this new thing? How can I upgrade? And then those questions, if you're feeling resistance to that, you want to check in with, okay, why am I afraid to do that? Why am I telling myself, oh, but I can't. I can't. I have to keep doing this. I have to. It's required of me. And I think, again, I use the example of high school seniors because it's sometimes easier for us if we get a little bit of distance from it and we can see, some of you have probably counseled your children, like, listen, you don't have to do that, even though everyone else is telling you, you have to. The life we are telling them they have to quote unquote, get into college is not a sustainable life for the long term. I mean, they have to be excellent in so many things, so the story goes. So I think we really want to be careful that we're giving them the guidance and then that we're taking our own advice, that we're able to turn that lens on ourselves and say, where am I still susceptible to that message? Where am I still falling prey to doing things because I think I have to, because I think there's some magical box that I'm checking instead of doing the things that I really want to do, okay? Life is better on the side of those choices. I can promise you that. So that's today's topic. Stop checking boxes and start making choices. Hey, come follow along on Instagram or Facebook. We've got a lot of people in the community in both of those places. Facebook, you'll go to the group called Brilliant Balance. On Instagram, we have 2 accounts. There's my personal account is at C. Skolnicki, or the business account is at brilliant_balance. Good things going on in both of those places for you. And if you like the show and you're a regular listener, I would love it if you would do 2 things. Take a second to leave a review. People read those reviews, and it is so helpful for them to get that little bit vote of confidence that they need that this show might be worth their time. So if you find it to be worth yours and you would take just a minute to leave a review, I would so appreciate that. Or share this episode with someone that you think could use the content. Be generous and see how you can help them along on their journey. That's all for today, my friends. Till next time, let's be brilliant.
This is thepodcastfactory.com.